Oh, yeah, baby. The Noles are back on the climb. Going heads up. We're on the climb, baby. All right, welcome to Seminoles Sideline 365. You've got the old man, aka Bruce, here, and man, we're going to celebrate this victory. We're going to take this victory. Where's KB? Where's KB? KB's not here today. KB was out on the road. He's down in where the hell did he go? Oh, Raleigh, North Carolina, to go to a wedding. I think he's in the wedding too. But he's not going to be with us unless he calls in. But he's probably hitting the beer tent or whatever they do down there for the wedding today. I don't even know what time the wedding starts. I think it's an evening wedding. So it's going to be me. It's going to be me, the old man. I'm running everything. I'm running the technical pieces. I'm running the notes. I'm running the victory glasses, and I'm running the victory sign. The climb continues. You can see the arrows pointing up. And that's what we had today. Final score, Florida State 41, Georgia Tech 16. And it might have been 17, but the clock ran out. So by rule, there's no extra point. That may make a difference to somebody betting on the game. I was thinking about that at the end. If I needed that point, I'd probably be really disappointed at this point. But it was a great game. Great game for the Noles coming off a bye week. They had 2 weeks off, and they showed up today. They showed up. They showed their muscle, and they were able to win this game handedly. The game was never in doubt. There was never any doubt. It was how this game was won, which is probably the most important thing that we should focus on. And that's really the key. It's not, were we going to win the game? That question was never in doubt about at any time. It was, how would the game be played? What would the execution be? So first of all, let me say this about the defense. I'm going to start with the defense. The defense played the way we expect our defense to play in every game. They could have shut out this Georgia Tech team. Georgia Tech was ineffective throughout the game. And we don't even need to get into I will get into their, hang on here for a minute. I will get into some of their stats, but the stats weren't even close in this game. Let me get my notes up here. Okay. The stats weren't even close in this ball game. The Georgia Tech had 66 rushing yards, 198 yards passing, and 264 total offensive yards. I mean, that's horrible performance. But what can you expect when you basically start a freshman quarterback who had not started any previous games? In fact, I think Zach Pryon actually looked pretty good. I thought he looked pretty good for what they asked him to do, and what Chris Wenke, his offensive quarterbacks coach, asked him to do. So I hand it to him. I think they might have found a guy that can compete for that quarterback spot at Georgia Tech. But he was ineffective overall in terms of the results of this game. The Florida State defense, all the starters, including Fabian Lovett was in the game. He played off and on in the game. I thought he started a little slow. I thought he was a little apprehensive, and I can understand why he was apprehensive. But I think he showed up in the game and had a pretty good game on the interior part of the defensive line. But the defensive line played very well. Our DNs played very well. I thought they all did a really good job. They pressured the quarterback. They had sacks on the quarterback, and they made the quarterback very, very uncomfortable throughout the game for Georgia Tech. The defensive secondary showed up, and I thought they played very well as well. I thought they had a very good game. In particular, I thought Kevin DeLoach and Bethune, I think they also are the heart of that linebacking core, and they, without a lot of visibility, really make a lot of plays. And I thought that was excellent, excellent. Oh, there's my man. Whoop, there's my man, KB. KB, can you hear me out there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, buddy. I got you. Hey, what'd you get? A new haircut?
Got a new haircut. Gonna look nice for a wedding. Gotta look nice.
You're looking sharp. Did you see the game, KB? I know you're busy there with the wedding and all of that stuff. Did you see the game? What are your thoughts?
The first half, and then some of the third and fourth quarter when it got better. But as people in the house could see, I was throwing stuff around. The first half was disgusting in my eyes. I think, and I tweeted some of it when I had time to before we started moving at halftime. But I think it got better in the second half. They slowed things down, but I think the team looked out of sync, out of character. Just the procedural penalties. What we have over 100 yards of penalty yards again for another. I don't know how many games in a row it's been like that. The team in the first half did not look right, and if you do that against teams that are not Georgia Tech, you're going to be down 14 points at half. If you're not playing such a garbage opponent, teams are going to make you pay. They're lucky that they were not down. That game should not have been that close in the first half. And I know they covered the spread. That's great.
What about the rust? They had to get some rust.
That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. Rust, stuff like that. But drop balls, not be the inability to convert in the red zone is a major concern at this point. You can't say it's rust. Mike is getting way too cute with the ball in the red zone. This wildcat play that leads to a fumble that almost leads to a touchdown run back. Once again, lucky that didn't turn into 7 points the other way, just off that, is just concerning. Why are we just not giving the ball to Benson, throwing in for 1 yard? I don't know why he just makes it so complicated with his players. I know he said on Twitter that what led to those 2 timeouts being called, if you remember, where it's like they couldn't get lined up properly in the course of a couple of plays. I guess he said that players are trying too hard. I don't know what the fuck that means, that players are trying too hard, and that's why they had to call these timeouts to get them reset. But it's things like that are going to get you. If you play a quality opponent, those timeouts could cost you. They could cost you scoring opportunities, and you saw them cost them easy opportunities to score in the red zone. This game should have been not even close in the first half, and you had to fight to make it a blowout in the second half. And I know, like you said, the scoreboard reflects what it is, what the score should be, but they should have easily scored 50-plus points in this game. Like, Georgia Tech starting a backup quarterback, a freshman, you knew this game was going to be pretty much out of hand. No Jeff Sims, this Georgia Tech team can't really compete with Florida State. And the first half, in my eyes, was concerning just because I've seen the story. We've seen the story the past 3 weeks. This team does not look in sync. They look sloppy to start the game, drops, penalties, all these things. And if you go out, and even if you're playing Miami or Syracuse or Florida, they have a lot better talent than Georgia Tech does, and they're going to make you pay for it. So that's really my observation. The second half, what it is, they play better in the second half. They executed better, but you can't start games like you did in the first half against more quality opponents.
Well, I think that's the hard fan approach. That's a hard analyst approach, and I have to agree with that. The main one, the main possession you're talking about is the second possession we had in the very first quarter. And that's when we pushed the ball all the way down to the goal line. And then we got cute with this wildcat thing again. That is an admission by a coach that I cannot run this ball down your throat inside the 5-yard line. I can't do it. And it's kind of like not trotting out your field goal kicker unless you're inside the 30. I mean, it's an admission of a lack of confidence in your backs.
Which doesn't make sense because, I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but Trey Benson had to be averaging probably 8 yards per carry tonight. So I don't know if it's an admission of that. I think it's just overcomplicating what you're trying to do. And when you have an opponent like Georgia Tech, you don't have to be complicated. You can score. You should be able to score at will, like it was shown in the second half. You just need to line up and push the ball. So, I don't think you have to admit that you can't run the ball 1 yard. I think it's just, like I said, Mike Norvell trying to be this complex offensive mind and show that he can run the ball wherever he wants to, when it's just keep it simple. Give the Trey, run it down their throat, and get the yard. I don't think it's an admission of we can't get 1 yard, because I know we can. We're averaging 8 yards per carry. It's just trying to overdo things. So these coaches now have made the game so complicated. And it's, I think, Mike just getting too deep in his head about what is the play that's going to guarantee the 1 yard, instead of just saying, let's line up behind the center, hand it off for 1 yard. And it's killing the red zone efficiency right now.
Well, I agree with you. Now we're seeing this consistency over games, across games, where when we get down inside the 5-yard line, that we're getting cute. We're getting cute. Even the announcers are picking up on it, as bad as some of they are, but they're picking this up. Yeah. And in big games, in this case, it was a disaster. I wrote in my notes, red zone disaster, because he almost runs us in for a touchdown. Yeah. In fact, they get what do they get out of that? They got 3 points out of it, right?
Yeah, you're lucky that's not a run back totally for. If they didn't hustle back to run that guy down, it's a touchdown. It was
terrible. Yeah. I mean, it was a terrible play, and this is we've had disasters down in there. Yeah. This is something he says in practice we're working on, red zone offense, because going in they were ranked 100 plus going in on red zone offense. So this shows no confidence in the ability to run that football in from the within the 5-yard line,
or through the air, because you had a couple of those drives, I think, before halftime too, or maybe it was the third, where you tried to loft the ball up to Johnny Wilson a couple times. You still couldn't execute that way. So I think they have to try to keep it simple and just run it down their throat with Trey, and try to be more efficient in the red zone using the running attack. I think they're struggling to pass it in the red zone. They're trying to do these wildcats. I just think they need to go back to the basics. Just try to keep it basic, and then settle for the field goal, because field goal kicking looked a lot more consistent today. From what I saw.
You made a good observation, and as Coach Mike says, they're trying too hard. They're making it too difficult. I think it's the damn coaches that are making
I think it's a lot
difficult. Yeah. This football is not a difficult game. It hasn't changed in years. No. What we've done, all these schemes, we had to call. I think there were 2 timeouts down in that area.
Yeah, it's like almost back to back. It was almost back to back.
Yeah, they were like back to back. The coaches were, waving their arms. Norvell,
he was pissed.
Well, yeah, and that showed up at the end of the first half when we had a possession. But we could have gotten another touchdown, but we had no timeouts left.
Well, and also with that play,
a field goal.
Also with that play, what was so frustrating is that you didn't have. It seemed like the team didn't have 2 plays ready to go. Jordan doesn't throw the ball away. He takes the sack. He goes to scramble, gets no yardage. But then the team wasn't running back and hustling. It's like they weren't prepared to do either a spike or to run another play. And it was just so frustrating to watch that, because, Jordan's trying to get them to the line. It's like they're trying to figure out, do we spike it? Do we run a play? What do we do? And then you have, I forget what number it was, the receiver didn't run back. Finally he realizes, we don't have a timeout, and he starts hustling, but you burned about 10 seconds there, where then, okay, you had to finally had to just decide you're going to spike it and run do a field goal. But that's another position, like you said, where you should be expecting to get a touchdown. That's where against good teams, you have to be trying to go for a touchdown and not just settle for a field goal. It just didn't look like they had practiced these kind of, no timeouts left, 30 seconds to play, have 2 plays lined up, 2 or 3 plays lined up. So in case you get sacked, you're ready to go with the play right behind it. But they were just didn't know what to do. They were worried. It was so frustrating to watch that.
I think that goes to the point too. They got a penalty on offense when they broke the huddle with too many men in the huddle.
Yeah.
because that shows confusion by coaches. I put that on coaches. You know, every week we hear we got to coach them up better. We got to coach better. This is on us. I think it's exactly that. You've got a lot of talent on this football team, but you've made it so hard on them that they're so worried about where they should line up. It takes away from their athletic ability.
Yeah.
And we're being hard on this team after a victory, and we're going to be hard. This is what we do. It's raw, it's unfiltered, and there's no sugar here. Because, as you said, KB, against the best teams, against the good teams, you know, there could be problems because the game is not going to be a Georgia Tech type of team.
No, and you're not going to be playing basically a true freshman quarterback every week. You're not going to be playing, like you said, at Georgia Tech. You're lucky that this game was as close as it was in the first half. If you're like you said, you're playing an experienced, you know, Syracuse team. You know, they're going to make you pay for not executing in the red zone. So, and that's a good point. Like Georgia Tech, you know, kind of, I felt like, you know, they're trying to try out this freshman to see what they had in them. You know, against the Florida State team.
Yeah.
And
well, they didn't go with their transfer out of the portal.
Exactly.
You know,
so they want to see what the freshman had. Exactly. And so it gave Florida State the chance to, you know, if they made mistakes, they could come back from them. But if you play a veteran-led Syracuse team and you don't execute the right way, you're not going to be able to come back from those. If you go down, they're going to make you pay on those plays. You know, so that's why I'm not impressed with this game. You know, the score reflects a blowout, but in that first half, it did not look like a blowout. You know, there was a lot of, you know, 100, like I said, 100 plus yards of penalties. And a lot of sloppy play, a lot of it coaching based, a lot of it, you know, personnel based. It's just, you got to clean it up. And it's looked like this for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and it hasn't changed.
In the first half, we had basically 3 turnovers. The very first possession, we were down on the 32-yard line.
Yeah.
And that's because it's outside of Fitzgerald's range. We had to go for fourth and 3, did not get it. There's a turnover on downs. Then we had the turnover there at the goal line. And then we had a turnover by Benson on a fumble, you know, after a decent run. So, I mean, those are big turnovers that people that are better caliber than Georgia Tech are going to make you pay for. So I think you hit that well. Now, what did I like about the offense? Trey Benson, he had 111 yards, 18 attempts, over 6 yards a carry. That goes to your point about why can they not have confidence in running him inside the 5-yard line? I don't get that.
It's a big enough back carry for him.
What?
He had 7 carries last week, or the week before when he was rolling, and he disappeared in the second half. And I think, like you said, he had 18 carries this week. Like, they finally continually gave him the ball. And they need to continue to give him the ball. The guy's a difference maker. He's a load. He carries the pile forward.
A hard
you just
runner.
have to give him the ball. I know you want to give everybody, you know, Toa Philly needs to snap. You want to give a lot of people snaps, but he is going to be your bell cow. He's going to move the pile forward, and you got to continue to give him the ball against better competition. So, but I got to run. It was, I just want to give my comments here. I will see you guys next week on next week's show. Take care, everyone.
KB, stay away from the beer tent tonight, okay?
I
need you. It's coming week. All right, buddy. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Great to see KB on the show here. But let's pick up on really the defense. I thought showed up. I thought they played very well. That defense is going to have to play that well in the games we have left. Okay, the games we have left. They're going to have to show up every week because we're going to play much higher caliber teams than what we saw today in Georgia Tech. Now, this offense had some good moments. Jordan Travis has almost a career day, or maybe he had a career day. He had almost 400 yards passing today, almost 400 yards. If I have the right figures here. He had 3 touchdowns, passing, 24 of 38, 63%. He looked sharp throwing the football. He really didn't have to use his legs at all in this game. And I thought the offensive line played pretty well. They especially played well on rushing We had, let's see, how many yards did we have rushing? Blah, blah, blah. We had over 200 yards rushing the football. We had over, let's see, we had 246 yards rushing the football. So again, this team has shown consistently now, and that's what's important about these numbers. Over the weeks, we can rush the football, which sets up the pass. And that's what this team needs to do. And they're doing that. So congratulations to that. So overall, the offense, which sputtered in the first half, came alive late in the first half and then carried it over into the second half, even though they started off, they were supposed to receive the kickoff, and we got sloppy on special teams and gave the ball back because of an onside kick. That's not what we need to do. That's not what we need to do in a big game. This game wasn't in doubt, but in a real big game, that could show up. And then on the preceding kickoff, because Georgia Tech scores on preceding kickoff, we get it at the 8-yard line because we had a penalty. But we do take the ball down and we do score. Ja'Kai Douglas, good to see him. He caught a pass and we got a nice touchdown there. So the offense was clicking, but at times they seemed confused, especially in the first half. People seemed out of place, and we had a lot of penalties. At my last count, we had 13 penalties. 13 penalties for over 100 yards. That has to be cleaned up, and that has showed up now in the last couple of games. That's important that gets cleaned up. Our field goal kicker had a good day. Ryan had a good day on kickoffs. Ryan had a good day on extra points. Ryan had a good day on field goals attempted and made. No misses. So congratulations. Keep grinding, Ryan. Everybody has confidence in you. I hope the coach gets confidence in you, but keep grinding, and he had a good day. Some players that I thought really had a good day is Johnny Wilson had a good day. There was a catch in the end zone, middle to low. He should have caught. Big-time receivers are going to catch that ball, but he had a good day. Trey Benson, obviously, had a very good day. Cam McDonald, tight end, showed up today, had a very good day on the field as well. Teofili had a great day. He continues to run the ball inside and out, and he's a slippery runner, and he's tough to bring down. And hats off to see Rodney Hill, freshman, number 29 in the ball game. This guy is going to be a tough runner. He's a tough runner, and he will run the ball inside. And it was fantastic to see C.J. Campbell, who's been on the injured list, came off the injured list and got his first game action here at Florida State, a walk-on, number 22, and pick up a touchdown on the fourth possession of the second half. And that was really good to see him do that. Tate Rodemaker got in for cleanup duty late in the game with just a few minutes left on the clock. And pretty much that was the ball game. Georgia Tech really not effective on offense. The game was never in question in that regard. It was how much and how would Florida State execute and how many points would they run up. They could have easily been in the 50-point range. But as Insider said, sloppy still. Sloppiness will catch up to you in these final games coming up. Now, next week, we play Miami. Adegbe says sloppy. The consistency from the fan level was sloppiness. That was my impression at times. That was the impression of KB. I know some fans don't like the negatives, what people call negatives. This is reality. And it's great to have the win, but there are things that have to be cleaned up. I'm sure Mike Norvell will say that in his press conference, and I hope he gets asked some relevant and tough questions. Next week, we go to Miami. This becomes an important game because Miami is a trash fire right now. They are a dumpster fire. They're playing, I don't know what the score is for the Miami game right now, but, they're having not a great season. We can't go down to Miami and play a first half like we did today. If we do, Miami has enough disorganized talent, and that's what I call that, disorganized talent, to keep the game close and potentially beat you. And right now, the last thing I saw was that we are an underdog going down there. If you can believe that, that's how there's no respect for this Florida State team right now. We have to go down there and earn that respect and play for the state title, and that is the first step. The second step is when we play the Gators. So we're taking this 1 week at a time. I hope we're not ranked in any polls. Rankings and polls will destroy this team. And I hope we don't, as media, play into that. So that's it from Seminole Sidelines 365. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to say have a safe and happy commute out of Tallahassee or wherever you're listening. Have a great weekend. And let's keep following these Noles because they play with heart, they play with determination, and coaches, boil it down a little bit for these guys. Let them show their talent. Let them play. That's it from Seminole Sidelines 365. Keep watching us. Please hit that subscribe, the like button, leave us a comment. We invite your questions and comments always. And as we always say here on the show, go Noles, go Noles. All right, y'all be safe out there and have a great weekend.